material suits your audience? Do you rehearse a lot? You just shoot whatever you have?
I do prepare my material, and writing for the Mr. Brown show for all these years, and writing for my site all these years. Writing comedy is a craft. You just got to work at it. It's not something that just happens overnight. You just go out. You don't just stand up and suddenly you're funny. You have to work at the script. You have to write in a way that's funny. So you do have a better sense of, over time you do get a better sense of what works and what doesn't. Yes, I do practice the material somewhat, but at the same time I know my material very well. So if I need to present about something that I'm very familiar with, I don't usually require a lot of prep, because I already know what I want to say. I've got the stories in my head. But just like delivering stand-up comedy, which I don't do, but it's very close to it. You have to know your material. You got to prepare your material beforehand. Even the timing of your jokes. So timing. It's all timing. So you can't just go out there and pretend, hope to wing it. You have to prepare. And it's all not all of it is improv or ad lib. You have to have that preparation. I know my audience very well because I've been entertaining them on my show and on my site for such a long time. So I kind of know what tickles them. At the same time, though, you got to know your audience. So like, I found that speaking in overseas situations where I'm speaking to a foreign audience, you have to provide more context. So here I can just make a reference to something I've done, like, I can say "Bak Chor Mee" and everyone breaks out laughing because they know what I'm talking about. But over, in New Zealand, where I was once, I had to explain the whole, what is mee siam, what is mai ham, what is Bak Chor Mee, and what is tu kwa, right? So and then you have to provide the whole background to that story. So that's necessary. So you got to be sensitive to who you're speaking to. Do they understand culturally? Do they understand the context of your stories? And that's a skill. You got to adjust it accordingly. And it was very gratifying when after my speech in New Zealand, one of the organizers came up to me and said, we really appreciate your ability to contextualize your stories. What is also interesting to me was that people in any country laugh at the same things. What you think is funny here very often is very funny to them, because some of the things we have in common. Authority figures which do things which are funny. Uptight bureaucrats. It's a universal thing. So when you tell it, even though it applies, it happened in Singapore, people in New Zealand will laugh because they see the same thing in their country, maybe in different ways. So that's amusing to me, that we have more in common than we think. Yeah, but context, I think, when you are speaking to your audience, you need to know where they're coming from.
In being an entertaining speaker, how do you know where to draw the line that sometimes may be too much of a joke?
I don't know. I don't know what the line is. I try not to think too much of the line. I mean, you do have a sense of how far you can push, but even then, like, I try not to give myself a line, because if you set up too much of a boundary for yourself, you can't.
Stifles your creativity.
It does stifle a lot. But you got to know what the context is. What is the speaking engagement about? Why are they there to listen? What do they want to hear? What are they interested in? Yeah, I've done it in front of civil servants too, very senior civil servants, at one event some years ago. That was very funny. It was a very strange strange presentation, because, I'm doing it in front of all these people that I make fun of all the time.
But they all liked it.
They had a laugh. They had a good laugh, Maybe after that they went back and blacklisted me in some way, but they laughed then. But it was, that was, so if I had gone in thinking, I shouldn't be making this joke in front of these people, I don't know, that wouldn't have worked. And I've seen comedians do it. I was watching one comedian do it at the president's...
Snapchat.
No, it wasn't, not here. Gosh, no one dares to do stuff here. But in the US, she was speaking at a president's event, US president's event, and she was just letting it rip. It was hilarious. She was taking pot shots at, people in the room. Yeah, I was like, yeah, great. But you have to be funny. If you're not funny, then you're just being mean. So, that's for that in that scenario. She was a comedian delivering a comedy act. If she didn't succeed at being funny, then of course the material will not be appropriate. But if you're speaking at a conference about poverty and all, I don't know whether the jokes would be appropriate. Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're doing. What are you going there to say, right? So it's all contextual, really.
It depends also very much on the audience. You not only have to do research and material, but you also have to do research.
You gotta know your audience for sure, yeah. But I think too much. Sometimes I think we worry too much about who the audience is. I think you should worry about yourself. Do you know who you are? Are you being true to yourself when you go up there? Are you just putting on? Are you faking it? I think that's important. I think if you know who you are and where you're coming from, it's probably a better position to start from. Knowing your audience is part of the game. For me, it was just relevant because I need to know whether I need to provide context to you. But I'm not going to change the way I speak or the things I want to say just because, I'm in another country, right? I'm not going to hold back just because I think you guys might be offended. I don't know. But, knowing your audience is only, to me, is just helpful to the extent of what you want to share and how you want to deliver it. But it shouldn't compromise your material.